Education in Belgium is organized at the level of the federal states. And today I will discuss the legislation and collaborative structures that support inclusive schools in the Flemish part of the country. Historically, Flanders is known for its extensive segregated system of special education schools and institutions. It was not until in 2014 that a first piece of legislation was approved that granted the right for all learners to register in a general education school. Before 2014, we did have a legal framework for the integration for learners with physical and sensory impairments, but inclusion for pupils with intellectual disabilities was project-based and often depending on the goodwill of schools and even of individual teachers. And then in 2017, Flanders started setting up support networks with personnel from special education schools. A part of this personnel was made available to support pupils and teachers in general education using their disability-related expertise. And then a year later, in 2018, there was a decree. The decree of pupil support was approved then. And that decree required all schools to implement a tiered system of support. And this support was based on the question of how can we be a good school for all learners and provide support that can match the different levels of need. This placed the responsibility on all schools to organize support instead of uniquely relying on external help from experts. Then last, in 2023, there was a decree learning support that was approved. This decree is based on the M decree of 2014. However, the main difference is that now learning support centers are set up as independent entities with their own structure, their own funding, and their own professional development. So these persons are not longer teachers of the schools for children with special needs. The professional development in these centers is organized as a weekly opportunity to exchange experiences, questions, and insights. So there is an expertise that grows in these centers. The exchange of experiences is based on concrete cases or issues that surfaced. And then in the dialogue, the learnings are tied back to evidence-informed knowledge. This has become a space of real learning. In the dialogue about the different levels of education, we have the pupil level, the classroom level, and the school level. And there are also opportunities to exchange with experts from special education. So there is a relation still. And then the next slide. Yeah. Now we will talking about the organization of collaborative work and thinking. This is an example of the way a learning support center is organized. It's looking a bit difficult, but it isn't. This center is one of 5 in the region East Flanders. I will talk about East Flanders because each region in Flanders has a number of these centers. We have East Flanders, we have West Flanders, we have Antwerp, the region of Antwerp, the region of Brussels, and the region of Limburg. And each center is organized slightly different according to needs in the region, the vision of the leaders, or the type of specialization of the employees. So each employee has his own specialization sometimes. For example, in some centers, there are 2 learning support persons per school, but other schools could have 4 or 5. There are schools that don't want too many people interfering with the daily management of their school. So this depends on what the school wants. Some will a person who is generalist, Kathleen, who can manage different types of learning. The learning support persons focus on particular issues. This depends on their own background and the needs they encounter. And then once a week, these learning support persons can connect with the coaches. You see also the place of the coaches. And the coaches have disability-specific specializations. And once a week, the learning support persons can connect with them during the professional development time. But the coaches can also directly support teachers and pupils in schools or provide training in schools about a specific disability. In addition, there are also coordinators who are responsible for low incidence disabilities, and they provide professionalization and support across the whole region, not only for one center, but for more different centers. Next slide. Now I will show you an infographic, maybe also a bit complicated, but I will talk about it, and so you can understand it. This infographic represents the cyclical nature of the work of the learning support centers. I apologize for the Dutch in the infographic, but I will highlight some main points. The inner part in orange reflects the individual learning level. The learning support person collaborates with the parents and the school to construct a learner image. Who is this child? Which are the needs, and so on. Out of this image, the individualized goals are determined. The binoculars, you see the binoculars in the middle, represent the future perspective and the dreams of the learner and their family. Because we find it very important that also the student or the parents can bring in the dreams of the child and their own dreams. We have the dreams and we have what is possible, really possible, but we try to yeah, to realize the dreams. Okay, so the binoculars represent the dreams and the future perspective. So once the individualized goals are clear, they reflect together on how these goals will be worked on. Consequently, the individual pupil can learn and participate in all aspects of the school environment. This is continuously evaluated and adjusted. That's why the circles are there. The point at which the circles intersect on the bridge in the middle is where the learning support person has to think about how he or she will support the teacher. Because supporting the teacher is all about figuring out how the learner will learn and participate in the class activities while working on their individualist goals. These are the questions of support planning that Kathleen was talking about in her presentation. You can see this in the image in the right circle. You see the persons there can be ideally a parent, a teacher, and a support person. So what Kathleen was talking about, who figure out together how to best support the child or the young person. Then you see also a dark green circle. The dark green circle represents what happens at the classroom level, which, as we know, has its unique dynamics, challenges, and strengths. The learner support person analyzes the classroom context as well, because every support that is developed has to work within that specific classroom. On the next level, the outer circle with the light green arrows refers to the broader school community. Concretely, this means that the support that is developed for a particular learner in a particular classroom need also to be translated in the full school context. For example, a child with sensory integration issues should not get punished for running out of a noisy lunchroom. You can see that at every level, continuous communication and collaboration is the driver of this cyclical process. And then the next slide. So next, I would like to share a few insights about what is important in collaborative working and thinking at the system level. First, the leaders of the learning support centers need to have a solid vision on inclusion. That is first things first. If they don't have that, they have to develop this vision. And then it's also essential to have structurally built-in collaboration time in every school, because when the leaders of the school cannot manage this, there will be no communication between the teacher and the support. Also, expertise, a new knowledge repertoire, grows out of interaction between stakeholders. So learning as a social participation. Collaborative relationships always hold the possibility of creating new knowledge independent of age, experience, of background. This is also what Kathleen was talking about. Team teaching can give teachers oxygen, notably on one-on-one time to build relationships with the pupil. For example, learning support person takes over a class for 15 minutes, and then the classroom teacher can go in interaction with the pupil with special needs. Sharing positive examples of the learner in action, such as photos, videos, texts. So sharing this with families, but also colleagues, changes the narrative and opens the door for collaboration. And then also seeing pupils as the responsibility of the whole school community versus a single teacher, and looking for solutions in that broad context is very important. You have to think out of the box. For example, in a difficult class moment, like being assistant, the pupil may be an assistant of the handyman of the school by cleaning up the leaves of the trees in autumn, or making copies in the administration room with the secretary. And we can find a lot of other examples who grows within the dialogue with the parent, with the teacher, with the support person. And then last but not least, no pupil or person ever reaches the ceiling of their learning, academically, socially, or emotionally.